Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, host of the Riderflex podcast and founder and CEO of our day job recruiting firm, Riderflex. We hope you enjoy this episode. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast for updates and news. Finally, if you haven't already, check out the series of books we've published on hiring, interviewing, and overall career advice titled The Riderflex Guide, available on Amazon. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Most homeowners don't have the time or expertise to properly take care of their home, which causes costly issues to arise. That's where Cura Home Maintenance comes in. We're a full-service, routine maintenance company that was developed by a certified home inspector. Each quarter, we service our clients' homes following manufacturer's recommendations to properly maintain all the necessary appliances. We provide the materials and expertise to prolong the life of your property, creating a healthy and efficient environment for your family. From top to bottom, we'll maintain and service your home. To get started, we have a property inspection to determine what needs to be maintained, and a maintenance plan is created based on your preferences. From refrigerator coils to filters, vents, and drains, we do it all, and we do it well. Contact us today for your free routine maintenance inspection, and never worry about your maintenance again.
Mark, thank you so much for being on the Riderflex podcast. Appreciate it.
Steve, it's great to be here. Great to be here.
So, a Bay guy since, man, the 70s. I don't know what.
A long time
I saw
ago.
you went,
What?
yeah, a long time ago. All right, give us the family story first. Let's start with parents and siblings and things, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah. So, grew up in the UK.
That's where the accent comes from. Yeah.
Yep. I was my dad a lawyer. My mom was, did what women did in those days until about 20 years ago when she graduated from the School for Deacons in Berkeley and has worked at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco ever since.
Wow.
Still now in her 90th year, still working there.
How about that? Pretty cool.
I have a sister, full sister, two half brothers, two half sisters.
Okay. Well, how old were you when you're
a typical modern mix
Yeah.
of folks?
Were they married before, or that happened after?
So my mom and dad, it was their first marriage, and they split up when I was 4. And so, we kind of grew different families. My mom got introduced to a great guy, American guy, at a party in the UK, and 6 months later she was married, and a little later living in California.
That's how the California move happened. I see. Was your dad pissed? Was your dad pissed? Was he like, hey man, you can't take the kids?
Oh gosh, long story. It was a mess. Their divorce actually ended up in the newspapers.
Really? Whoa.
Yeah. So anyway, lots of great family stuff.
How old were you when you moved? Because the accent is still there.
Yeah. So what happened was I actually stayed in the UK. Different story there, and I'll tell you about it.
Okay.
But they married when I was 14, and then I would fly out on school holidays to California. And so when it came time for college, there was a choice of, do I go to some place in the UK where it's cold and gray, or do I go to California where it's not quite as cold and gray? And it was a pretty easy choice at that point. So college was here at Cal Berkeley.
I got you. Okay, very, very good. Okay.
And my high school was a British, what they call public school, which is actually a private school, which was a boarding school, which had lights out at 10 o'clock and school uniforms. And I went from that to Cal Berkeley, which I describe in those days as weed and waterbeds. And so it was quite a culture shock.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. And especially in the late 70s, you were like, wow, okay,
Yeah.
this is
Oh, no,
cool.
it was, it was amazing. It was truly like, you landed on the moon. Um,
It's pretty good.
but I loved it. It was, and I think really an extraordinary time to be here because everything was taking off, right? You were just, the tech revolution in the Bay had started probably in the late 50s,
Mm.
but had gathered a lot of steam into the 70s. And so you had companies like Apple and Intel, really taking off.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
biotech was
Yeah.
just about to take off. So Genentech had been formed, and by kind of the mid 80s, there were 100 biotechs of any size, and maybe 50 of them were in the Bay. So it was a really cool time to be here.
But your major was finance. What did you think you wanted to do originally? What was the original plan?
So for some unknown reason, Steve, I thought I should be an accountant. I'd done
Okay.
well in accounting classes. And way later in life, like really way later in life, I did, the personality tests.
Okay.
And so my prevailing personality is an ENFP, which they call the campaigner personality type.
Okay.
And so if you have that personality, they say, one of the things you should consider is being an entrepreneur. But here's the things you should not do. And it starts off with accounting, right? And so here I find myself in one of the big accounting firms, just hating every freaking day, thinking if this is what work is like, then work's going to be miserable. This
Yeah.
is going to be
Mm.
30 or 40 years of misery. Um, but I was super fortunate because I worked for predecessor to Ernst Young, firm called Arthur Young, and
Okay.
they did the accounting for all the startups in the valley.
Great. Awesome.
They did
Good.
the Apple, Intel, Genentech, all those companies, and I just got fortunate because I had some of those as my clients, and I
Yes.
realized that that's where I wanted to be. Whenever they put me on a big company, I just realized, oh my God, it's stifling. It's just not what I want to be. I can't bear it. And you go to small companies and just, everything that pulls you in
Yes.
to the startup world, the big dreams, the passion, the fact that you're in it every day,
Yeah.
was appealing. And so
Gotcha.
thank
Yeah.
goodness I went to that accounting firm.
I see.
That led me down the road to where I needed to go.
And then was there eventually a specific love or passion for biotech or pharmaceuticals, or how did that weave into it?
Yeah, it was funny. I was thinking about this when I was going to talk to you. The one, and it was weird. It may well not have been specifically the world of biotech itself. It may have just been one company, but there was one audit that I was assigned to, and it
Okay.
was an unauditable company. But they needed an audit because they needed to raise money, and it happened to be a biotech company. And the I worked with a CFO, and he said, we'll figure a way. He had worked with me before at Arthur Young. He said, we'll figure a way to make this thing. Anyway, 6 months later, we had an audit. We had it signed off.
Okay.
And I was like, that's what I love. I love the puzzle. I love to be able, when somebody tells me this is impossible, this is unauditable, I love the fact we got an audit done. That's what kind of sort of turned me on. That was
Okay.
and then because we spent 6 months on this small company, I got to understand what they were doing and why it was important. And that drew me in.
I see.
And 3 months later, I was working there.
I got you. They
So
made you, they brought you in as an executive, as a C-level, or do you remember what that you first
I
came in
came
as?
in as a controller.
Yep. That sounds right about that for that timeline.
Um,
Yep.
and never
So
looked
now
back.
You're in startup. So now you're in startup, you're in biotech. Those are fun, but you're still crunching numbers, which you don't particularly love doing every day functionally.
Right. So here was so so here's what you do. Here's what I think, I knew that to get out of it, I needed to be at a higher level position.
Yes.
Um, and I knew that it wasn't going to be, I wasn't going to become CEO or head of R&D with my background.
Okay.
But I realized that in biotech, if you're the CFO, your job is not to crunch the numbers.
Right.
Your
Yeah.
job is to go raise money.
Yeah. Most of
And
the
so
time.
what you're basically doing is representing the business of the company in dollars. And you have to understand basically how these businesses function. So, what gets an investor interested in raising the money and giving you money? What takes pharmaceutical companies interested in partnering with you? And what are the dynamics of R&D and how it is you build products?
More puzzle solving with you putting these pieces
That's right.
together to
So it was all
people.
great. So it was all
Yeah.
puzzle solving, right?
Yeah.
So I did stuff like, back in those days, you couldn't go online and look at the SEC filings of companies, but you could. There was a service where you could actually buy filings of other companies.
Oh, what was it? What was the service? You remember?
Get the name of the
Yeah,
service.
that's okay.
I remember
Yeah.
you get a checklist and you check off everyone. And so I went and bought 20 10Ks and S1s from different biotech companies and just reviewed their businesses, right? What does it take? And then, if you were going to be a CFO, you needed to know about SEC filings and dealing with Wall Street. So who do I know who's dealing with Wall Street? Anyway, I was super fortunate, Steve, that there was a group of execs, and this was around 89, who were all new to biotech, all kind of CFO level execs.
Okay.
Who said, we don't know enough about biotech, so we're going to form this group and we're going to call it the Association of Bioscience Financial Officers. And we're going to get together on a monthly, quarterly basis.
All right.
Just exchange ideas and issues. And so, the very, very early days, I was fortunate enough to join that group. And I basically learned from those people, right? It's super important to find the people who are doing the job you want.
That's the truth. Yeah, absolutely.
And that group, I mean, I still have friends from 1989 when starting that, right? And I became I think I was the second president of that group in 90 or 91. But it was really, the power of reaching out to your peers, reaching out to a network, having a network.
Yes.
Of like-minded people.
Yes.
I can't remember. We did some kind of non-bank of financing, and our board said, "Well, how do you know how to do that?" So I was like, "Yeah, I'm very smart, right?" It was just the guy down the block had just done one 3 months earlier, right? But I looked like the smartest guy on the planet. But I was super, the thing that happens, right, is you get a combination of you being prepared and you working with good people and working with people who are willing to take a risk on you. So, at that company, we went through a merger.
More great experience. All this stuff's just stacking up your experience.
We became the first public gene therapy company, which put us highlighted the company. And we got a new CEO, a guy called David Carter, who'd been around the industry a long time.
And what was your position at the time? CFO?
And I was at that point the treasurer, and David came to me and said, "You know what, Mark, we're just going to make you the CFO." Right.
Okay.
And so here we are. The company's just got like,
Was that your
yeah,
first CFO position? Was that the
yeah,
first one? Okay.
yeah. And David was exactly the right CEO to, I mean, I think he was to me, the quintessential perfect guy to work for,
Cool.
because he was the type of person who said, and look, I was new. I didn't know I was doing right. But he he basically said, look, I'm not an expert in what you're doing. You're the expert. I trust you. You go do it. You figure it out. I'm not going to look over your shoulder. If you think what you're doing is, you know, come talk to me. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I'm going to let you do. And it was the greatest learning experience.
That's
Have
wonderful.
somebody who just
Which
sets
company
you
was
straight.
this?
This is a
Which
Somatics company was
Semat?
called Somatics.
Okay. What year was this?
I think it was 92.
92. First CFO position. Great, man. Congratulations. Okay. What happened to that company? Did they exit or?
That company, yeah, that eventually went through a merger and exited. Um, it was tough times for biotech at that point.
Okay. So
Um,
that wasn't your first big personal score from an exit necessarily, but it was
yeah,
good.
it was a score. It was a good deal. Don't get me
Okay.
wrong. It was a good
Okay.
deal, but it was you know, I think about biotech in those days. I mean, if your biotech company was worth 100 million, like the whole company,
Yeah.
right? That was a big deal in the early to mid 90s. You know, if you had
Yeah.
200 million market cap, I mean, that was
Yeah. Right.
right.
Yeah.
Now it's like if the CFO is not worth 200 million, then you know, right? We just
uh,
the you know the difference in values has just it's just extraordinary, right? I mean,
so
I think of the three
that
companies.
that promotion slash exit really then catapulted the rest of your career for doing that type of stuff.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And it's funny too. I think what happened then was I did from that point on. I was trying to do more. I was trying to not be a CFO anymore.
You wanted to
But
be
I'm
a board
not
member and
sure.
an investor and a board member, et cetera,
I
or
just wanted to. I wanted to be more involved in the business of the business.
I see. Okay.
And so, and that was a part
You're
of
thinking
it.
president, CEO, you're thinking,
Actually, what I really wanted to do next was more be, you know, because there's a job, it's particularly in biotech, called the chief business officer, where you're a bit of business development and um, you're a bit of CFO.
okay.
And the idea is because the most interest to me, what's fascinating about, you know, the biotech world is these gigantic deals that pharmaceutical companies will do with a relatively early stage biotech company. And the fact that the deals can be incredibly creative
Mm.
and they can be transformative to your company. And so where could I get in? Where could I participate in doing that kind of a deal?
Well, during this, I want to ask you, it sounds like professionally it's lining up for you, especially now that you're starting to move away from looking at reports and crunching numbers, and you're really into the 50,000 foot level of the
Right.
business. What about what did it for you personally or passionately? Like what's driving the biotech fascination? Are you
Yeah, no, that's a
I
great
want to
point.
make people live longer. I want to have better health. I want to solve obesity. Like what's the passion driving the rest of it for you?
I remember very early on, and you know, one of the things of being the CFO's job was pretty much to be the interaction with Wall Street and with your investors.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was at Somatics, and we had a number of different programs, but I remember we had a hemophilia program, and we had a couple of large. They were basically arms of investment banks, where they had brought in high net worth individuals who had stock in the company. And this guy said, you got to talk to this guy. He owns a bunch of your stock and he's been buying it on the open market. You got to talk to him. Okay, I talked to him. And he told me about his daughter's issues with hemophilia.
Mm.
And the struggle, and how, the issues with sharp objects and continually having to be able to be on guard. And
Interesting.
And he said, that's why I'm buying your stock. I need you to be successful. If you're successful, I know at least one person whose life will be completely transformed.
Wow.
Right. And I think, at that point it went from, hey, this is a cool place to solve puzzles and do cool things.
Yeah.
Right. To, this is a cool place to, to get my jollies doing cool things. But if you can change one person's life that profoundly, how cool is that? Right.
Yeah, that is great. Yeah, that's wonderful. If you can help people and make money,
right,
and truly help people, not just create something from them to buy, but truly help people and make money. That's the golden ticket, I think. So that's awesome.
And I know, jumping forward to what we're currently doing, I mean, the thing that is so profound in our current company.
Tell us about the current company. Give us the overview.
So the current company, Phenomix Sciences, we are a precision medicine company for obesity. And so, obesity has been in the news a lot because of these new drugs. But one of the things that is not as well understood, and actually probably well understood by people suffering from the disease, is it doesn't always manifest itself the same way. So our company is built on the foundation of some remarkable science done over the last 10 years at Mayo Clinic. And the discovery there is that obesity is not one disease, but many.
I can see that for sure.
At least 4 of these subtypes can be described in 4 of the subtypes represent 85% of people with obesity.
Okay. What are they?
Yeah. And the subtypes are hungry brain, which is manifested by folks who eat a lot at a single sitting, never feel full. There's hungry gut, which are people who have to snack between meals. You feel full, but then half an hour later, you need to eat again. Emotional eating, which is eating for, let's say, COVID eating, for anxiety, emotional issues, and then slow burn, which a lot of people think they have, which is slow metabolism.
A lot of people think they have, but don't.
And they don't necessarily have slow burn. So, oh, doc, I have slow metabolism. My problem is low metabolism.
Is that the easy out? Is that the easy get out of jail free card?
Often it's the easy answer, right? But what's great is that what they've shown in many, many clinical studies is if you know these phenotypes, these subtypes of obesity, you can treat patients with the right intervention the first time. So it turns out that for these new drugs, the primary phenotype is hungry gut, and about 40% of patients have hungry gut, and 40% of patients respond well to these new drugs like Ozempic.
Okay, so that, all right, so can I pause right there? Yeah, we're recording this on January 3rd, 2024. Yeah, this was Ozempic. That's all I hear about now. I hear this all the time. People are constantly talking about it. I'm not an expert on it. I just know that I have family members, people who are like, and so I'm like,
And
what is this the new Viagra? Like, is this Viagra? Like, what is this? This is everywhere now. What's going on here?
Everywhere, right? It's just the craziest thing. And so, and what was so funny, right, is when we started working on this company, this craze was not going.
Right.
So the craze, the interest in obesity drugs really took off beginning of last year, which was right around the time we launched our first genetic test. So we super benefit. This once in a while, as I'm sure other participants in your podcast have told you, being in the right place at the right time really helps sometimes.
It's
right?
critical. In fact, for the listeners, I've always heard, you can break down top three reasons for success in startups, and everybody's got their debates, and it's cash, it's people, it's this, it's that. Timing is huge.
Yes.
Gigantic. Sorry, didn't mean to get us off track, but timing.
No. And I can get back to that too. I've got a great story on that. But the fact is that we're beginning to see two or three things happening that really are going on in the field of medicine right now that put us in a really interesting spot. So first of all is just the acknowledgement that the future of medicine is personalized medicine, is precision medicine. So in oncology, that's now an accepted fact. 30 years ago, we were just on the beginning of it. But we know that for all areas of health and medicine, that humans are different and they behave and react different. So that's the one thing. Getting into personalized medicine is I think for any area of effort in medicine, looking at a way to introduce precision medicine is timely. The other thing that's going on is that obesity for many, many years was not even considered a disease. So the AMA did not call out obesity as a disease until 2013.
Wow.
So think about that. Before that, so in 2013, over a third of adults in the US had BMIs of over 30, which is what we characterize obesity as. And yet we didn't call it a disease. It was a condition. It was something that your doctor would say, you probably need to skip lunch and you probably need to exercise a little more.
Isn't it true right now that the stat on obesity is around 30%? Is that not right?
Right. No, it's way more now. So now we're at 42% by the last count, and that count is 4 years old.
42% obesity, and isn't the quote overweight stat more like 70%?
Yeah, that's right. And it varies by state too, Steve. So there are states in the South where the obesity rate is over 50%.
That's crazy.
Heading to 60%.
That's crazy.
So they think by the end of the decade, more like 60%.
Now I'm about to go down a rabbit hole here, so stop me if I need to, because we were talking about Phenomix, and I want to come back to your company and everything you're doing, but I got to ask you this. So, okay, so when I hear people say, okay, this is a disease and it affects people a certain way, it's not just because of the food they eat or whatever, it's a disease. But then, okay, and I hear people say that, and I'm not an expert on it. You're the expert, so you can educate me. I hear people say that, and then I also hear, well, just so you know, if you go down to Alabama and Mississippi and Louisiana and all these places, the obesity rate is definitely higher. Well, why? I guess my brain is asking myself, well, does the disease does the disease live in the southeast part of the country more than it lives in Berkeley? Like what's going on here? Help me out, Mark.
I think it's it's like anything else, right? It's a combination of genetics, which is what we're looking at and have a lot of evidence on the fact that it's genetics,
Okay.
and the environment. And so, you know, phenotypes are a combination of your genetics interacting with the environment and generating
Mm,
some, manifestation
mm,
of a
mm.
disease state.
I see.
And so, if you have a genetic predisposition to obesity, and what we do is say a certain type of obesity, and you happen to live in an environment where,
I see. Mm,
you're only, all your buddies eat salads, like in California,
yeah.
you're still going to be thin, right? Because everybody's eating a salad. They're miserable, mind you, but they're eating salad. Um, and if you're in an environment where, food is different, the, and you have that same predisposition, you're gonna gain weight, and you're gonna
Okay.
suffer from
Fair,
obesity.
fair enough. Yeah. I'm just guessing, looking at it that way, I bet you if I lived in Mississippi, no, I don't mean to pick on all my Mississippi friends, but if I lived in Mississippi, I would just guess I would be heavier because the environment, the atmosphere, the fewer people are, I live in Colorado. Everybody here is active, right? If you're
Right.
not active here, you're abnormal. You know what I mean?
No,
So
you've got a mountain bike strapped on the back of your car, and you're
yes,
hiking the mountain.
yes.
Yeah.
So I get that. I get it. I get it. Let me, I didn't mean to get off that. Let me double back. Tell us about the company more. Give us, go ahead and finish your overview and
Yeah.
what your business model is, what you're doing. Let's get a nice overview if you don't mind.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, we're fortunate because we're seeing, the rise of precision medicine. We're seeing the rise of taking obesity
Great.
seriously as a disease.
Yes.
So that means pharmaceutical companies, payers, insurance companies, um, and all the large provider systems, companies that do employee self-insurance,
Ah,
they're all now looking at the fact that, here's a disease, here's a disease that 10 years ago we didn't even consider a disease that basically is affecting half the population, right? It's like, it's 150 million patient population that all of a sudden came out of the blue. Like, what if we said cancer came, right? All of a sudden, 150 million people had cancer. So anyway,
who do we blame? By the way, who's blame? I'm going down another rabbit hole. Who do we blame for the come out of the blue epidemic here? Who's to blame? Are the Cargill families of the world to blame for the food? Are the fast food to blame? Is the social media sitting behind your TV screen instead of exercising to blame? Who is to blame for this out of the blue pandemic we're facing here?
yeah, I think I think it's more like the frog analogy, right?
Okay.
Right. If you put
All
the
right.
frog in boiling water, it jumps out. If you slowly turn up the heat, you don't notice, right? We
Okay.
just
Yeah.
didn't notice.
We didn't notice it. Yeah.
We didn't
Okay.
notice. We're like, wait, why is everybody driving an SUV, not a Pinto? Oh, wait, because they can't fit in a Pinto anymore. But I
Okay.
think we're in a great position because we have an ability to provide insights that are useful for everybody in the healthcare system in combating this epidemic. So the insights that we can provide, which are here's the genetic profile of people with this disease that can tell you how to treat them better, which of the various types of medication, diet, devices, surgical techniques, which of those is going to be best suited for your patient? How do we get that person better as soon as possible? And how do we do it in the most effective way and the most cost-effective way? So that's interesting, obviously, to a patient, because, if you're suffering from a disease, if you're suffering from a condition, you want to get better fast, right? You want to have, you want to know that what you're doing is reliable. One of the things, on a side note, that was really remarkable, talking to obesity specialists when we were forming the company 3 years ago, was saying how much money a patient would have spent on a variety of diets over years before they first saw an obesity specialist.
Great
Thousands
question.
of dollars
Yeah.
trying to
Oh,
get
at
that.
least I would get, yeah, for sure.
Thousands of dollars trying to get
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
So can we get that person better now, not waiting 5 years and trying a whole bunch of different stuff?
And is that the business model? Patients are logging in, signing up. What is the model,
So
and how are you?
Yeah. And so the model really is, right now, it is that we will sell the tests through physicians to patients.
I see.
Now, that'll change. We're going to go through the process this year of seeking reimbursement codes and getting reimbursement for the test. Obesity is an odd disease in the sense that it has been hard for companies to get reimbursement for their obesity products. Again, this is because we've traditionally not thought of it as a disease. But we're convinced that we will be able to get reimbursement codes, get this reimbursed, and then we'll simply be selling essentially to physicians, and our business model will be, you're seeing a patient for the first time, you need to understand more about that patient than you could get from simply interviewing. We're going to give you genetic information on that patient, and that genetic information will give you the ability to make decisions on diet and exercise advice. Do they need some kind of coach? Which of the various drugs should you be on? So should you be on Ozempic? The thing that's remarkable, right, is Ozempic is, well, it's not actually Ozempic, but for obesity, the same drug is branded as Wegovy. But Wegovy is $1,200 a month, right? And even if you get coverage, your copay is going to be a lot. But a lot of people, there's no coverage. We've shown in studies, I say we, Mayo Clinic, our founders have shown that in about 20% of patients, those so-called hungry brain patients, you can get the exact same weight loss with a drug called phentermine topiramate.
And how much is it?
And that's about $100 a month, probably $80 a month with a coupon.
Why aren't people? Is there just lack of awareness? What's the scoop?
Lack of awareness. Very few people know what this is. Phentermine topiramate marketed as Qsymia. Very few people know. Here's what tends to happen nowadays, right? And we talked to a bunch of obesity physicians. Patient will come in for the first time, see their specialist, somebody who's studied obesity for 20, 30 years, and say to them, "Doc, I was watching TikTok, and TikTok tells me that you need to prescribe me Ozempic." Right? So what do you say to that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
All my friends lost weight on Ozempic.
Yeah. Do you have to have a prescription, or can you buy it on the black market? Can you buy it under the table from the kid down the street, or you got to have a prescription? Ozempic.
You should have a prescription. There's, there's been there were shortages, manufacturing shortages at the beginning, and so sadly there was a big market in compounding these drugs.
Yeah.
And dangerous.
Yep.
But this is the why I think this is so fascinating is we have the ability to actually do the timeout.
Yes.
Timeout,
I like
right? Hold on. Before you demand this drug,
Mm-hmm.
why don't you do this test? Let's find out a little more about you. Let's
And
find out about you at your genetic level.
Is the test, is that your proprietary product, so to speak, that you're selling? Is it a device? Is it a
Yeah, so
what does the test consist of?
great question. And one of our big debates is how does our business model evolve? Our current business model is we sell a very simple, easy to use test. It's actually a saliva test.
Okay.
You get a little wand like this, and you do cheek swab, put it in to send it to a lab, and it looks at about 6,000 gene variants.
Okay. And do you have to, real quick, do you have to go to your doctor and get that swab from the doctor? Because you're selling selling the test kit to the doctor, so you got to go to the doctor. Okay, you can't do it at home.
Right now, we're doing it through the doctor.
Okay.
And so evolution of the business model could be a consumer base, right? Or it could be at clinics, or it could be at Walgreens, right? Evolution of the business model.
Yes.
But right now it is selling a test kit and getting an answer on your genetics.
I'm assuming if you sell the test kit if you sell the test kit directly to the consumer and you bypass the doctor, your margins are better, I'm assuming. So that's the goal.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Healthcare is a interesting place.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If whatever you learned in Econ 101, you throw out when it comes to health.
Okay. All right.
Because remember, the person who's ordering is not the person who's paying, and neither of those are the people who are benefiting from your product, right? Unlike any other thing that you can think about.
Crazy.
Right?
That's crazy.
And so one of the things that one of the things you think in healthcare are, who are all the people who need to be aligned to make yourself really successful, right? So we have two big areas where we want to be successful. One is in how do you pick the right intervention for your patient? If you're a physician, how do you find the right intervention for your patient? And a second part of that question is, what can that intervention be? And I'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
The other big area that's interesting is because obesity is just taking off, and because, in particular, drug companies are also seeing that there are many different types of obesity. There are many different types of drugs being developed. And those different drugs, it turns out, target the other phenotypes.
Okay.
So now, can we help that?
Does your test tell the doctor what phenotypes to attack and what drug to give them?
So our drug, our test basically says, hey, Steve, we took your test and you're hungry guts. So you're hungry. That's all we tell you. That's all we tell the doc. The doc then looks up on the, and says, oh, hungry gut patients, they probably do best on Ozempic. So you're going to get Ozempic.
Okay.
But what's interesting too, right, is let's say you are developing a drug for hungry brain, right? Do I want to test that drug on hungry gut patients or slow burn patients or emotional eating patients? No, it makes no sense. I'm developing a drug for hungry brain patients. Well, how do I find those patients? It's it's no questionnaire. So one of the things we can do is help those companies that are developing drugs for all these other types.
I see.
Help those drug companies develop their drugs. Help them develop drugs quicker so that those patients who have the other phenotypes can get new medications faster because we can help them develop their drugs faster.
I see. And is that where a lot of your investors have come from? Not to jump ahead, but is that where the investors?
Well, it's not so much where the investors come from, although we do have a couple of people we're talking to who are really interested in the drug development side.
Okay.
But we are in discussions with a number of drug companies about how do we help them on their drug development? Can we participate in their clinical studies? Can we help understand why this patient responded and this one didn't, for example? And so a lot of excitement around that right now because all of a sudden the pharmaceutical companies are now jumping all over this as a disease area. So that's, the two broad kind of areas. But within the first area, which is we're giving a piece of information to a physician and their patients, part of the question is, where do you go with that? Because right now we're saying, here's your genetic makeup, and that corresponds you, Steve, to being a hungry gut patient. But what else can I tell you, right? Can I tell
what else
you?
Can you do? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so can I package that around a specific diet? Can I put a food plan together for you? Can I automate that into groceries that are delivered to your house every week?
Right? That's good. I like that idea.
Can I link it to your Fitbit? Sorry, I don't know who am I allowed to advertise here. What's your phone? Let's call it just a phone. But what else can I link it to so that you
Yeah, Mark.
you also have hungry gut. And if I know something more about how you can help yourself with that, how can I deliver that to you in such a way that it's seamless, it becomes part of your routine, it becomes part of your life? So
that sounds like, and I hate to keep coming back to the business model aspect of it and how you can make money, but so is that I have this awesome test. I'm selling it to the clinics and doctors, and that's how I'm making money. But now I am also having the patients log in and sign in because they have their report, and now the patients can also stay a member because I'm going to feed them with their exercise list. I'm going to feed them with their grocery list. I'm going to feed them.
So you go from selling a one-time product to a SaaS type service.
Right? There we go. There we go. That,
well, in the parlance,
and you are the master at raising cash with this type of stuff. So, but
so in the parlance of the healthcare system, you're on a PM basis per member per month, right? So if I'm selling to an insurance company, it's a PM basis, right? So, but one of the lessons of doing, startups for years and years and years is you got to start somewhere, Steve. You can't totally do all of it at once, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So this year is selling products.
I got you. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Up, scaling up, and
are you sustainable? You're I'm assuming you're burning your investment cash right now. You're not.
So our target is that by the end of this year, we could get to self-sustainability.
Okay, cool.
So 24.
All right.
And I think it's a stretch goal, but it's possible.
That's fine. Are you an investor too, or did the investors hire you as the CEO, or are you a founder? What's your mix?
Yeah, I'm principally, actually the backstory on this is pretty cool.
Okay.
So it's a longer than just a.
That's okay. Yeah. We got, if we go over a couple of minutes, I'm okay with it if you are.
Yeah. No, are we there? Wow.
Well, tell me
about what's fun. I could do this for hours. Steve.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, I'm good for the time.
So the backstory is, I was working 2017, got pulled into an entity called Health 2047. And Health 2047 is a spin out of the American Medical Association.
Okay.
And its job is to do startup investing in areas of health that are important to physicians.
Okay.
And Health 2047 is based in Silicon Valley. And really the job is to found kind of cool new companies. So we've done a lot of different things, from AI, even insurance companies, a lot of different areas. But I got introduced to the founder of Phenomix Sciences while I was working at Health 2047. And the founder, Dr. Andres Acosta, through a mutual friend in Minnesota. And I met the guy and I said, this is going to be a big thing. I don't know why, but this is going to be a big thing. This guy's super passionate. He's got a point of view. This is going to be huge.
Single founder? Single founder?
Two founders.
Okay.
Andres is the one who's more of a driving force. His mentor, Dr. Michael Camilleri, it's probably the top GI doctor in all of America.
Okay. When was it founded? When did they found?
It was originally founded in 2018.
Okay. All right.
And then we restarted it in 21. So we did a recapitalization when we came in.
Okay.
So I started off as the lead of the group that made the investment from Health 2047.
Ah.
And so I was, it's not really a venture firm. Health 2047 does a lot of kind of founding from the ground up. But this was an exception. We loved the science. We loved what.
At that moment, I'm just curious. At that moment, were you thinking, I need to run this, I need to be CEO as well, or were there none of that? That wasn't even. No.
But what I did know is when I saw the company, I said, I want to be involved in this. I know in some way I need to be involved. I know this is going to be huge.
Okay.
I just intuitively know this is going to be a knock the ball out of the park kind of thing.
And who was running things? Who was running day to day at that point?
Well, at that time, Andres, who was, full-time Mayo doc, was the CEO.
Okay.
And one of the smartest guys I know, one of the most passionate guys I know, but just completely crazy to think that you can be a full-time Mayo doc.
No way. Yeah, there's no way.
He had brought in a very, very talented COO who sadly has now moved on.
Okay.
But that's a founding story. And so one of the things that has been really interesting is to be able to have the support at the top of the AMA, right? Talking to the CEO of the American Medical Association, talking to the people on the board of directors
Nice.
of the AMA about our company. And then also to be able to be working with some of the top obesity physicians in the country.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Like,
that's pretty awesome. How much cash raised so far? Can you share that? I don't know what you want to share.
Yeah, we're at about 6 million in. We're looking to raise another 5 right now to get.
You're in a raise right now? What are you calling that raise officially? I know that's another debate.
We're calling it right now. We're calling it a seed extension. We're calling it a seed extension round.
Let's just call it more. Let's just call it more money raise.
It's more money, right?
Yeah. And what are you raising? I'm sorry. How much are you raising?
We're raising 5.
Okay. And how far are you? Do you have a current roadshow deck for that, or a teaser for that? You okay.
Yep.
We should talk offline for that. But okay. All right. Very good. And is there a bunch of grant money and stuff you've also been given over time?
We have. Well, we got the benefit of there's at least 15 million spent at through grants at Mayo Clinic, and we have the benefit of all that research.
Great.
We've got applications in for 4 more million of grants right now. They look pretty promising.
Very good. Very good. For the listeners, can you educate some of them? Because I get this question a lot. Now Mayo Clinic, they don't own a piece of the cap table or anything, do they?
Yeah, Mayo Clinic's part of the cap table.
Oh, they are. Okay. All right.
And they've just been a great partner.
Okay.
It's an amazing partnership.
Okay.
With them.
Okay, very good. Your board is do you have a board that's manageable, or how are you feeling, Mark?
Well, no good comes from saying I hate my board on a podcast,
Hold on, let me
Steve.
hit stop. Let me hit stop on the recording. No, I'm just playing. Uh, board management. So what do you like? Let me ask the question this way. What do you dislike the most? Okay, the day-to-day, the cash raise, the management of the board, all these things that you are having to do now. If you had to force rank, I don't dislike maybe is too strong of a term, but if you had to rank at the bottom, what's your least favorite? Asking rich people for cash, or what's your least favorite?
I think anything that's routine, and part of the
Ah,
problem with being in a startup is,
okay.
I mean, my personality type is not a routine. I get bored with details,
Gotcha.
right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, um, and I don't mind raising money. I do get, the ratio of no's to yeses does wear on one's,
For sure.
but that's just, if you're not gonna, deal with that, then you shouldn't be in this, right?
That's right. If you don't like the word no, you shouldn't try to raise cash.
You shouldn't be in a startup.
No, I
Um,
mean, come on.
um, but I think those are the two. But I'm super fortunate. I mean, one of the things we didn't touch on is, I mean, I think the key thing in these companies, right, is who you hire, like making sure that there's somebody that you hire who makes up for the things you don't like or you don't do well. Like that's what you have to really think about.
Couldn't agree more. And just to dive in on that a little further, it's not in a startup, it's so critical to offset each other's skill sets. But I also want to throw in there, when it's small like that, you really have to just be able to get along. I
Oh my
mean,
God.
you don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to have the same beliefs across the board with race and religion and politics and sexual preference and all these social things don't necessarily have to line up 100%. But when you're in a startup and you're in a very small group and you're around each other all the time, like if you're I don't know, if you're a gun toting, I go to you go to the range every week and you love to hunt and all this, and your co-founder is part of PETA and like hates guns and would never kill an animal, like it might not be a good fit, right? Like these who you hire, not just from a skill set, the offsetting each other's skill set, but do you have a lot in common personally that you can just hang around? I really think is important at that small level. Now, I'm a huge believer that diversity and thought process and things like that as the company grows is more
Yeah.
important. But man, you really got to be careful who you hire early on, because if you
I
don't,
think there's here are my rules for what is worth, Steve, of hiring. Because, so first of all, in a small company, to your point, you're gonna be a family, right? And so
yes,
how, are you going, to your point, are you going to be able to get along day to day?
yes, yes.
How do you finish an argument, right? Right. So do you finish the argument by pouting, or do you finish the argument by going, "Hey, buddy, I'll think about that and I'll get back to you," right? Um, you know, how much initiative do you show, right? In a small company, it's all about initiative. It's all about getting it on, right? It's all about, and I think one of the things you have to look out for is, who are people, do you see tendencies in your organization to tamp down initiative? And
I like
usually
that.
that, and usually you'll see that by somebody constantly harping on somebody else's mistake. It's like, you know what? Let them make a mistake. Because at least they're showing initiative. At least they're getting shit done, right?
Yeah, or they're trying
Let
to.
them make a mistake, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Now, if they make a lot of them, sorry, that's a bad sign. But if
Yeah,
you're harping on picking on little stuff, it's you're tamping down on initiative.
yeah, totally. How many employees right now, or team members?
We're at we're at 5 full time, and we got about 5 contractors.
Yeah.
and 3 part-times. I'll give you 2 more rules. I'm sure you've heard of one of them. One rule, here's sadly my rule that I learned from a couple of startups ago was don't hire anybody from a big company.
And that doesn't have prior startup small company experience.
Because here's what you find. In big companies, you're paid to know stuff. When you come in for an interview, you're going to sound great because you know a lot.
Yeah.
But you're not paid to do something. In fact, you're disincentivized from doing stuff, incentivized to know stuff. In a small company, you're incentivized to do stuff. And I can only afford to have people who do stuff right now. Sorry, later I'll get somebody who can know stuff.
I love that, Mark. That's such great advice. And as a recruiter for our day job at Riderflex, yeah, anytime a startup small company hires us to find an executive or a high-level team member, I'm sure as hell not going to recruit them from Coca-Cola or IBM or whatever. There's just no way. It never works. It never works.
And then the last rule is, you know this one, but it's worth repeating, no assholes.
Yeah.
Because
totally.
that person will take all of your time. You will spend all your time, not because I care whether they're asshole or not. It's a time sink.
Yes, and I think that's a good way. We could wrap up right here. I think this is a good closing topic. The no asshole rule has always been important, right, in life. But I think now I really believe this is going to sound out there a little bit. With the development of AI and technology that is rapidly taking over the tactical duties more and more and more of human beings, the things that we just need to do, that's going to free us up more for EQ and emotional intelligence and the people skills and the soft skills. And so the no asshole rule and the people skills has always been important. But I actually think with the advancement of AI to replace tactical duties, the people skills and soft skills are going to be even more important for you to stand out as a quality executive. So I really
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and that'll separate you from the pack for sure. So yeah, the days of being a super smart, high IQ software developer, but you were an asshole and you were still employed, those days are coming to an end.
Fair to say. Where will those guys go?
Yeah,
hey, listen, this has been great. I really, really appreciate the time and the questions. This was more fun than I was expecting, and I had high expectations.
Well,
so
Mark,
really,
thank
really
you.
Appreciate it.
Hey, congratulations. Great career. Congratulations on everything you've done. I mean, if you stopped right now and retired, you could feel very comfortable in what you've done for a living. So congratulations on everything. And then Phenomix Sciences is now off to the races. You're building another one. I don't know how you still got lots of energy and lots of positive spirit. So you're building another one to grow and exit. Congrats. Wishing you the best, my friend.
Thanks so much.